Nothing much.
Hear them if they'd like. I mean, you know what? I was thinking about that. I'm like, I'm going to bring one just in case. And I think I'm going to start wearing one when I know I'll be around like close proximity groups of people. I'm vaccinated. Oh, I mean, that's like any vaccination. I mean, well, not any, but a lot of vaccinations you need booster. You need a flu shot every single year. That's basically what.
We all ready back there? Is that Nick? We all set, Nick? Okay, everybody ready? All right. We'll now call the Plan Commission of August 24th, 2021 to order. Roll call, please.
Anna here.
Sullivan here.
Grillo here.
Lorick here. Kavich here.
Donnie here.
Seifert here.
Okay. That will get us to the approval of minutes of August 10th, 2021. If you all please take a look. And when you're satisfied, we will move on to a motion.
Seifert moves to approve the minutes of August 10th, 2021.
Oracle second. Roll call, starting
Anna.
with Christine. Thank you.
Hannah, aye.
Sullivan, aye.
Grillo, aye.
Lorick, aye. Kavich, aye.
Donnie abstains.
Seifert, aye.
And that'll get us to item 4, and that's significant common council actions. Carrie, if you would, please.
Council approved the following. A resolution approving a certified survey map submitted by Scott Sotula Mini Rentals, Inc. for the property of 400 East Oak Street. A resolution approving a certified survey map submitted by Michael Murphy for the property at 10855 South 10th Avenue. A purchase and sale agreement with Oak Creek Lakeside Land Holdings LLC for 8850 South 5th Avenue. And a purchase and sale agreement with West Park LLC for the property at 10304 South Oakview Parkway in the Oakview Business Park. Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Carrie. Appreciate that. That will get us to item 5, and that's Board of Housing and Zoning Appeal Actions. And our next report will be coming up in a few weeks, September 14th. Quarterly Parks, Recreation, and Forestry Commission actions. That report will come out on October 26th to this commission. That will get us to item 7, and that is a public hearing concerning a sign appeal submitted by MATC. And it would allow a ground sign for an existing baseball field on the property at 6665 South Howell Avenue. Lori, are you going to read that into the record, please?
Yes, sir. City of Oak Creek notice a public hearing before the Plan Commission. This meeting will be held both in person and by video conference. Persons wishing to participate in the video conference must register at the website prior to the meeting. The video conference will begin at 5:55 p.m. to allow participants to log in. Persons who wish to view the meeting live without participating may visit the City of Oak Creek YouTube page at the website provided. Persons requiring other reasonable accommodations may contact the city at 414-766-7000. Requests should be made as far in advance as possible, preferably a minimum of 48 hours. A public hearing for a sign appeal will be held August 24th, 2021 at 6 p.m. in the Common Council chambers and via Zoom. The appellant is Ray Zukauskas. I apologize for butchering that. The tax key number is 718-9961-002. The location of the project is at 6665 South Hall Avenue. This is for a request for a variance for section 17.0708C2, which states that ground signs shall not exceed 10 feet in height and shall not exceed 64 square feet on one side, nor 128 square feet on all sides of any premise. If granted, the variance would allow the applicant to install one ground sign that is 22 feet, 3.6 inches by 36 feet on the south side of the baseball field. The zoning of this property is institutional district. All interested persons wishing to be heard are invited to be present, dated this 27th day of July, 2021. Plan Commission, City of Oak Creek, Wisconsin, Mayor Dan Bukevich, Chairman. This is a public hearing. All those wishing to speak, please step up to the podium, or for those participating remotely, please press star 9 on your phone to notify the moderator that you'd like to be unmuted. Please state your name and address for the record and address all questions and comments to the Plan Commission. This hearing is now open.
Thank you, Lori. And as Lori had stated, we will make 3 calls. This is a public hearing. Please approach the podium and name and address for the minutes, please. So this will be the first call. Anybody wishing to speak? Second call. Anybody wishing to speak? And third and final call. Anybody wishing to speak? Here we go. All right. How are you tonight?
Good. My name is Dan Rairdons with Inspec Incorporated, representing MATC. My home address 6049 South New York Avenue, Cudahy, Wisconsin 53110. I'd be happy to answer any questions that come up.
Thank you very much. I will turn it over to the commission and we'll see what we have. So we will now close the public hearing and move on to item 9A, correct? Got it. So we'll open it up to the commission. Questions? Anything from Christine?
Nothing here, no.
Matt?
I have nothing. Thank you.
Dawn?
Nothing for me.
Greg?
No real questions. I don't see an issue with it. It looks like the sign itself is only about 3 inches higher and actually 2 feet less wide than the existing one, excluding the little trundle thing they have on the top. But I'm assuming the 22-foot measurement is from the ground up, not the sign itself. Is that correct? So,
Correct.
So it's counting the legs, basically. Okay. Yeah, I have no issues with it.
Don?
Nope, no questions.
Fred?
No, I don't see any problem. I think it looks like a good sign for you people.
Thank you.
So, no problem.
I agree with this commission. I do not have any issues with it. Again, it's a very nice looking scoreboard, very clear. Looks good by me. So with that being said, motion on 9A, please.
Seifert moves that the planning commission approves the sign variance allowing the installation of install one ground sign 22 feet 3 inches, 3.6 inches by 36 feet on the south side of the baseball field at 6665 South Hall Avenue.
Anna seconds.
Roll call, starting with Commissioner Sullivan.
Sullivan, aye.
Bill, aye.
Lorick, aye.
Bukevich, aye.
Aldani, aye.
Seifert, aye.
Anna, aye.
Great. Thank you very much. Good luck.
Thank you.
That will bring us back to item 8A under old business, and that is a plan review, site building and related plans submitted by Timothy Gann for All-Star Buick GMC for an outdoor storage and display of retail merchandise. On a parking lot expansion and signage on the property at 7020 and 77 South 27th Street. Carrie.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is a continuation of a discussion that was actually begun a little bit earlier this year and then held again at the June 8th meeting. As mentioned, this is a proposal for a vehicle display area with a parking lot addition. From the previous submittal, the signs and the bus shelter have been removed per staff request. Any signage will be reviewed at a later date. There is also a CSM on the agenda for this evening for Plan Commission consideration to combine the two properties. That is a requirement in order to have the parking cross property lines. If they are combined, there is no property line to cross. For those who need a little bit of a refresher, this is the existing site plan with the landscaping for the dealership as it is now. What we are talking about is an expansion and the vehicle display area on the corner that is in the blue highlighted area. This is what you see when you go out there, and we are talking about the corner particularly, excuse me. The benches and the screen wall there will remain, at least for now. And we'll discuss that a little bit more as we go through these plans. So some of the major changes from the last time we looked at this, the display area has been significantly reduced, and staff would really like to extend the appreciation for all of the work that has gone into the revised plans and for working with us to get it to a point where we can present it to the Plan Commission this evening. One thing to highlight in this proposed site plan is the orange area on the corner. That is a new easement that has been requested and coordinated with WSDOT for the street furniture and for the signal boxes that are out there, so their infrastructure as well. And that'll be reflected on the CSM as well as these plans, but I want to highlight that because you'll see that throughout all of these plans. The proposed landscape plan has been revised for the 5 vehicle display area, again, oriented toward the corner there. Then landscaping berm will be extended along the Rawson Avenue portion. The parking area that is behind the display area has also been reduced by about 5 parking areas. The existing flagpoles will remain in their current location. The parking area has been designed around those flagpoles so as not to disturb them. And landscaping is coordinated with the existing parking areas that are on the property. You will note that it does appear that the landscaping at the corner there goes into that WSDOT easement, and it should be coordinated with WSDOT whether or not those planting areas would be allowed in the easement or if they should be pulled back slightly. This is a more zoomed in version of that landscape plan. And the landscaping is really intended to be more of a decorative enhancement to their pool, their waterfall feature that is on that corner there. But again, that screen wall, the furniture will remain as of right now. There has been a submitted proposed lighting plan that incorporates a couple of fixtures. Some of them have not actually been incorporated into the lighting plan. They may be alternatives that have been considered. Most of the uplighting and the waterfall lighting will be in the display area on the corner. These uplighting fixtures must be screened per code. And then the 2 additional parking lot lights will be matching what is existing. The signage that was incorporated into this kind of waterfall rock wall will be reviewed at a later date. We need more details for those proposed signs, and they are being reworked at this point. So there is a suggested motion for approval. It is on 3 pages. Excuse me. Some of these conditions of approval that are suggested for Plan Commission consideration are acknowledging that we already have plans that have been approved, and those conditions of those approvals are still in effect. We do have a certified survey map that will be reviewed at the end of this agenda, so that is something that needs to be recorded before any work can be done, because again, we have that property line issue. The conditional use permit requirement is included in one of the suggested conditions of approval. And the reason that we require the amendment is because it is incorporating that corner parcel. And even though it is being combined by CSM, the original conditional use permit is very specific to the parcels as they currently stand and would not extend automatically to the corner parcel. So we do need to have that amendment, however minor it is, in order to incorporate that. So we will be reviewing that at a later date. And then the rest of the conditions of approval are specific to these plans. If there are no questions, I will turn it over to the mayor.
Thank you, Carrie. Before we begin, would the applicant like to say anything before we go to commission?
Good evening, Mike Davis from Insight Landscape Design.
Please.
I'm sorry?
We need an address of some.
11525 West North Avenue,
Great, thank you.
Wauwatosa. A couple other, I guess, minor things. One of the things we heard in the previous visit, there was, one of the members had some concern about water and water being present in the lower bowl. So we've changed that to, it's really going to be, it's going to look like a pond. It's going to be aggregate and other things in the plant material, but it's really going to be a pondless waterfall. So it actually spending more money to have it stored underground. Just eliminating any concerns that might be an issue. So it's going to come out of multiple weirs at the top, spill down, and then basically it's just like any underground storage feature that you probably have had submitted to you for parking lot, under parking lots or anything like that. It's similar, but just a little bit more condensed.
Exactly what we have out here.
Yes. And all the display light fixtures, they're low voltage light fixtures, and they have shrouds on them. Most of them have frosted lenses and will be directed into the site. There'll be plant, in almost every case, there's plant material between the fixtures and the perimeter. So you're really probably not even going to see them, and they might poke up a little bit on a 12-inch riser, but they're all meant to be pointed in, so there will be no glare for either anybody walking or driving past. They're all pointed up towards the vehicles and located up on top of pointing at the vehicles to kind of, rather than having another handful of big light fixtures that might cause some light trespass, we thought this was a better alternative to illuminating the vehicles, but yet not causing a possible glare problem. And so that's all I have, I think, unless there's any other questions.
We'll go to commission. Fred, you want to start us off?
Sure. I'd like a little more explanation about the decorative stone that you're going to have in front holding those 5 cars.
Yeah, so originally when we came, we were leaning towards having it be shotcrete. Now we've decided it's all going to be natural stone. I think it's coming out of the Fond du Lac area. It's a ledge stone. I'm going to start with larger, more massive pieces at the bottom, 24 inches thick, 5 feet wide, several feet deep. So it's a big pieces of outcropping stone, and they'll get a little thinner as they go up, but it's meant to look more as natural as it would be, like, if someone was climbing up a mountain or, a cliffside or something to that effect. So now we're going to backfill the whole area, because we're raising that up. Some of those display areas are 4, 5, 6 feet up in the air, and the grade's going to come up to it and back. So they're going to backfill with a lot of aggregate, and then we'll pave over the top of it for and then stain and put tire marks in them with a wheel and things of that nature to make it look a little bit more like mud. We'll actually set some boulders in there to drive a vehicle up, so it's canted or kind of contorted, so it's not just a flat parking spot. That's the whole idea, is to make it look kind of canted and kind of robust, I guess.
Like a GMC commercial.
Yes, to inspire one to take their 4-wheel drive off road instead of just driving around on pavement.
Excellent.
Good.
That's it, Fred?
I'm done.
Okay, Don?
I have no questions. It looks like you guys worked hard, and it looks much different in some ways than your original plan. I appreciate all the work you did, all the way down to the pool, or the pond, I should say. I really don't have any concerns or even questions at this point. Thanks.
No questions or concerns. This is in the second district. I've got no complaints or feedback on it. I do appreciate all the work staff has done on this. I appreciate all the changes that you made. It really looks like you kind of took a lot of the suggestions from the last meeting and went with it. So thank you.
Dawn?
Yeah, nothing for me. Looks great.
Matt?
No comments. Thank you.
Actually, I do have one comment for the applicant and one for Carrie. So, and it's just not a comment more than just an observation. So you see where the bus stop at and the stones that you have displayed on a different sheet here. Are you ever concerned or have you ever thought about kids waiting at the bus stop and trying to climb those stones and they may fall and get hurt? Or anyone in per se, you know?
You know, that there's a concern, I guess, with every project I do that there could be some type of an issue. You know, when I put stones on a plan, any type of aggregate, the first question that comes up, will someone pick it up and throw it through a window? And I guess there is that concern with anything. That's one reason why we took away some of the things like the water feature itself. You know, the retaining wall across the street, you know, kids could climb up that too. I guess we prefer them not. There is that potential. Hopefully not.
Well, my suggestion is when you're looking at for that a little bit more closer, if you look at the larger boulder that are not smaller that anyone can pick up or some sort of foul play or something like that. So maybe a larger one.
Oh, the majority of these things are significant enough where it's going to take a piece of equipment to move them around. And we try to avoid something that would be wanted to be thrown through the windshield of one of the vehicles there.
My second question is to Carrie. Are we having any contracts for maintenance agreement with them just to make sure that this is going to be continued to be aesthetically as it is?
So they're going to be required to maintain the landscaping plan as they've presented it.
There is an agreement for that.
There's not an agreement for that, but it is part of the Plan Commission approval. So the requirement is for this to be maintained in accordance with the Plan Commission approval. So while we don't have a maintenance contract or a maintenance agreement or anything like that, this needs to be maintained in accordance with these conditions until it gets approval to be removed or until it's removed in its entirety and replaced with something that would be in conformance with code at the time.
Or for any time like that, they don't approve it, they don't maintain it, or it just gets overrun by something or the other, we can go back and say, hey, you guys have not been holding your part and you have to go back and fix it, right?
Correct. You need
Okay.
to comply with the plans as approved by the Plan Commission.
Okay. That's all what I have. Thank you.
Okay. I'm just going to reiterate what most of the commissioners said, and, you know, thank you for working with staff. All that you see tonight is really the result of working behind the scenes with staff and the requests for the direction this commission and the city put forward to them. So I want to thank the staff as well. Not only did the applicants work hard at this, but I'm sure the staff has countless hours into this as well. So I think this is a great plan. I go by there a lot. I'm looking forward to it. It's a good looking dealership. I've been there a couple of times, and this is only going to enhance it and really spotlight a nice new business in Oak Creek. So I'm looking forward to seeing it. So,
Thank you.
with that, if there's no other discussions, questions, comments, we'll go with a motion.
Clark moves to approve site and related plans submitted by Timothy Grayman, All-Star Buick GMC for the properties at 7020 and 7070 South 27th Street with the following conditions. Number one, that all relevant code requirements and conditions of plans approved April 24th, 2018 and March 26, 2019 remain in effect. Number two, that a certified survey map combining the property at 7070 South 27th Street with the existing dealership property at 7020 South 27th Street is recorded prior to the submission of permit applications. Number three, that the conditional use permit is amended to incorporate the property at 7070 South 27th Street. An application for Plan Commission review of the conditional use permit amendment shall be submitted prior to or concurrent with permit applications. Number 4, that all plans are revised to incorporate all required setbacks, dimensions, phasing schedules, and maintenance details. Number 5, that the plans are revised to include locations and screening for any new mechanical equipment, transformers, and utilities. And number 6, that all light sources are shielded, that ground-mounted lights are directed at the display vehicles or landscape features only, that pole-mounted lights are directed downward, that the lighting system shall be extinguished or reduced to 50% no later than 30 minutes after the close of business for the day, that all applicable portions of section 17.0808 of the municipal code regarding lighting are in effect, and that all lighting plans are submitted for review and approval by the electrical inspector prior to submission of permit applications. 7, no signs are included in this approval. All detailed sign plans shall be submitted for review and approval by the Plan Commission prior to submission of sign permit applications. And number 8, that all detailed revised plans are submitted in digital format to the Department of Community Development prior to submission of permit applications.
Lonnie seconds.
Thank you. Roll call, starting with Commissioner Carrillo.
Lorick, aye.
Kavich, aye.
Aldani, aye.
Seifert, aye.
Anna, I.
Sullivan, aye.
For efficiency, as long as we have the applicant here, can we move down to 9C and do that at land division, Carrie? Any issues with that?
I have no issues as long as there's no objection by the next applicant on the agenda.
And that is it's just consultant. So I want to just say just consultant, but it could be a lengthy discussion. So is there any objection in moving ahead on 9C in front of 9B from anybody? Seeing none? Probably in my power anyways, but at least I asked. So 9C is a minor consideration and review of a certified survey map submitted by Timothy Grayman, All-Star Buick GMC, combining the properties at 7020 and 7070 South 27th Street, Cary.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is a very straightforward certified survey map request, and it is considered a minor land division because there is no creation of parcels. It is simply combining the corner parcel with the existing dealership parcel. And a reminder that a conditional use permit amendment is going to be required in order to incorporate that corner parcel into the overall parcel. The certified survey map is actually several pages long, and rather than getting into the individual portions of it, just kind of highlight a couple of things here. It does meet all of the district requirements for the B4 Highway Business District in terms of size and dimension. Following that consolidation, there are some features that have been identified on the certified survey map, highlighting the fact that this is already an existing developed lot. Easements, et cetera, are shown on the subsequent pages. There have been WSDOT comments that have been submitted, and rather than getting into those specifically, it's recommended that the applicant work closely with WSDOT to address those comments outside of this review process, since it doesn't really affect the fact that these are going to be combined parcels. It's rather kind of talking about the overall use of the site in the future and incorporating those requirements before this is a recorded document. So with that in mind, there is a suggested motion for approval on the screen with a couple of conditions. Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Carrie. With that, I will go right to the commission. Any questions? Don?
No questions.
Fred?
I just have a question about the official map that we have a street that's listed. Do we still want to carry that street?
Yes, it has to be included on the certified survey map in the location that's shown because it is still part of the official map. It's also part of the 27th Street Access Management Plan from WSDOT. That's where some of the comments are actually coming from. However, there may need to be some modifications in the future for the exact location of that future right-of-way. It does not, at this point, affect this commission's review of the certified survey map. Again, that's one of the things that they'd have to work with WSDOT in order to address those concerns. But the existing infrastructure for the ponds, for example, are already there. And they were part of the review from let's say 2018, possibly before.
Thank you.
Anything further, Fred?
No, that's it.
Okay. Greg?
No, thanks, no questions.
Dawn?
Nothing for me.
Matt?
No questions.
And Christine?
No, nothing.
Nothing from me. So, we can move on 9C, please.
Clerk moves to recommend to the Common Council that the certified survey map submitted by Timothy Grayman, All-Star Buick GMC for the properties at 7020 and 7070 South 27th Street be approved with the following conditions. That comments from the Wisconsin Department of Transportation are incorporated into the map prior to recording. Number 2, that the certified survey map is recorded prior to the submission of permit applications. And number 3, that all technical corrections, including but not limited to spelling errors, minor coordinate geometry corrections, and corrections required for compliance with the municipal code and Wisconsin statutes are made prior to recording.
Seifert seconds.
Roll call. Starting with Dawn?
Yep.
Greg?
Lorik, aye.
Bukovic, aye.
Hold aye.
Seifert, aye.
And I.
Sullivan, aye.
Grillo, aye.
Okay, that'll get us all. And that will bring us back. Oh, very well, guys. Good luck. That will get us back to 9B, and that is a plan commission consultation with a discussion of potential mixed-use development at the properties at 9102, 9120, and 9140 South 27th Street. So I am going to hand that over to Carrie.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is a development concept that is being presented for Plan Commission input only. This is not a decision item for the agenda. It's simply to get feedback on a proposal prior to submission of an application for Plan Commission official consideration. There are 3 properties that are involved. There are multiple zoning districts that are affected here. Along 27th Street specifically is the B4 district and the NO overlay district. And then the RS3 and RS2 districts kind of wind through these properties as well. In the concept, it does identify several wetland areas, and those wetland areas are kind of in the middle of the property. They have always been a challenge. We've seen several concept plans come through staff review, and this is the first time that anything is being presented for Plan Commission input at this point. The proposal itself is a mixed-use kind of development that is in 2 parts. Along 27th Street is a commercial building on the first floor with 3 stories of residential above. And then if you make your way toward the eastern portion of the properties, there's a proposal for townhomes, approximately 18 units. And access would be from 27th Street. On the screen right now is that concept plan. This will be presented by the applicant for further detail to the Plan Commission in just a moment. Again, concept materials at this point for those buildings. And just one thing to note, we did get this information from WSDOT about the proposal. You will note that they do have an access management plan that identifies a future road connection. It is not on the official map at this point. There may need to be a consideration at a future meeting to incorporate that into the overall development plan should it move forward. So at this point, I'd like to turn it over to the applicant to present his proposal.
Welcome. We will need your name and address.
Yeah, my name is Anil Epuri, and I'm 420 Woodland Chase Lane, Vernon Hills, Illinois.
I am going to ask you just to repeat your name. I don't know if you were on the mic at the time. You were still approaching.
My name is Anil Epuri.
Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. So this is the concept plan that we have designed to do a mixed-use development with the front as an apartments and retail in the bottom, and then back at the townhomes in the back of the property.
Okay.
Since the neighborhood is very new and it's growing up in this area, that's what I came up with this plan and want to develop in that area.
Okay. Carrie, we'll just kind of have the discussion since it is a discussion, so feel free to, you don't have to wait for me to call on it. How's that? On the front end where the retail and apartments are there, does that fit the zoning of the overlay, the apartments with the, over the retail?
Well, it's a mixed-use neighborhood overlay.
So we're okay?
As far as being okay is concerned, I think there would be a consideration for the number of apartments and the number of, or rather the square footage for the commercial area. With regard to what the NO overlay district requirements are in terms of this particular plan, the parking is a little bit concerning being along 27th Street. The overlay district is very sensitive to parking out in front. If there's an opportunity to put that toward the side or the rear, that's the preferred way of doing this along 27th Street. So the building is more along the street frontage, makes up that pedestrian experience, you know, with the landscaping, incorporating that, inviting people from the street to come into that area. That's really what the orientation is preferred in that overlay district. You will note that most of the parking is on the side and rear, but there is some that is oriented toward the front. So it's just a matter of, can we rotate the building, meeting all of the applicant's wishes, meeting all of the requirements for the overlay district. And then again, what's not included here is that access management plan, which we did not have prior to the development of this concept plan. There will need to be further input and coordination with WSDOT in order to incorporate that into future plans should this move forward. One of the comments that they did make as well is with regard to the access off of 27th Street and then moving all the way to the back. That's probably something that's going to need further discussion as these plans move forward as well.
Okay, and I guess I was leading into my second one. It looks like a rather long roadway. How does that fit in? It's probably a question for Chief Havey down the line here. How does that cul-de-sac fit into fire plans? Hang on, ma'am. You can't speak from the... Oh, you can't hear?
That's why I'm saying.
Oh, well, thanks for letting me know that. I'll make sure I'm on the mic. Chief, Assistant Chief, would you come on up? Just as long as we're in the discussion. And folks, if you do wish to speak, just kind of raise your hand and I'll get you to the podium if you want to make a comment.
Good evening, Assistant Chief Mike Havey with Fire. In the conceptual plan that was proposed, Fire did do some research in some of the access and the design. We do have some concerns with, like I said, this is a conceptual plan, and the cul-de-sac and the number of units within the cul-de-sac itself and our access to some of the other units on the south side of how it's designed. So again, in concept, we do have some concerns with how it's designed.
Okay. Would you need a secondary access? I mean, obviously you always want one, but is it necessary with something this length?
With there's really nothing in code that gives us with relevant to what our fire suppression or our water supply systems are. So the water supply systems we anticipate would not be an issue as far as the length or where we be able to access our water supply. So at that point, that's not much of the concern. More it's the access to the structures.
Okay.
Does that answer your question? Or
yeah, I think
okay.
So. Again, it's conceptual. It's got a few things to work out. So, any questions for Assistant Chief Havey while he's up here that maybe commissioners want to ask? Okay.
Okay. Thank
you, Mike.
I have a question. I don't know for Carrie or the applicants.
Sure.
So from what I'm seeing here on the screen, you said it's a mixed development, like mixed shops, coffee shops, whatever that may be, and residential. How is traffic access allows for that mix? People coming from different street versus residents?
Pardon, I didn't. So how is the access to the shops?
A conflict between access to the shops, like from public versus the actual residents going home.
Yeah, means there are two ways that we are planning to put into the access to the residents. One is either from the center of the shops or from the back of the building. That means it's still in concept and design. So we would like to make sure that no one will get interrupted. Most of the time, what we are planning to do is we are planning to get in underground parking. So that most of the residents will park their cars underneath the building and then go on to the building to the elevator. So very minimal people will be moving in and out because there won't be much parking. There won't be many people who will be parking outside because every unit will be getting a parking.
But sometimes those units get visitors too, so. it's
Sure.
not just-
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah, that's what we are still thinking of. It's just a concept of design, and I'm not 100% sure how we can reiterate it. Like we were planning to not to, otherwise we'll move the building in the front and then move the access from one end, and our shops are at the other end. So either way, we'll do that.
What type of shops are you looking to?
So we're not planning to go for any kind of drive-through, a salon or a nail shop or a traditional coffee shop, or not even a big restaurants there. So just a bakery kind of thing, small items, not a Starbucks or any such kind of thing which has a drive-through, because it's not appropriate to have a drive-through place in a mixed-use development.
Okay. So similar to what you see at Town Square, smaller restaurant shops.
So this is where I was gonna get to. See, Drexel Town Square is a little bit enclosed away from a major road like 27th Street. So being on 27, you're gonna attract more public traffic coming in versus Drexel is kind of secluded to the back. So that's something to put in mind when you're doing your design.
Sure, we'll definitely consider.
Okay, that's all what I have. Thank you.
Commissioners, other questions, comments?
I'm just a little concerned about the parking for those apartments. There's 78 units supposedly. And I look at the layout and I'm just questioning the parking that they have on the east side.
So yeah,
So if we figure 1.5, or it depends on the size of the apartments. They have 2 bedrooms or 1 bedroom. That's the only question I have, is the number of parking spaces.
Mark Eberly, Nielsen Matson Barber Engineers, 1458 Horizon Boulevard, Racine. So, yeah, thank you for that question. So, again, it's just a concept at the moment. We kind of work the numbers backwards to come up with the number of parking spaces, potential commercial square footage, potential rental units here. But between the parking in the basement, which is a full floor of parking, and parking behind the commercial on the first floor, and then the 2 surface lots there. There's currently 273 spaces shown on this particular plan here. So, and we do have, and we did work our way through your code based on some theoretical 1-bedroom, 2-bedroom, 3-bedroom units here. So I think there's room for ample parking here, and we will continue to work through the code to achieve that. One thing I did want to talk about a little bit more was access here. So, as you guys know, the site is somewhat challenging. It has 2 large wetlands in the middle of it. So you have a developable piece on the west out by the roadway. You have a developable piece on the east in the back. We actually worked with the previous owner and brought forth 2 or 3 or 4 concepts on the site through staff over the last couple of years, and they're all been somewhat challenged due to the wetlands here. So, based on this recent concept that we presented to you, we just have a single long linear road running from 27th Street all the way to the back, because that was the most cost-effective solution here. In reading the comments from Art Bauman at DOT, he is correct that roadway is too close to Hilltop Drive out there. In some of our previous concepts, we had a public roadway centered on the central property in a cul-de-sac west of the wetlands there. So I believe DOT was agreeable to that. I think staff was generally getting to be agreeable with that. So and that was kind of a lighter, less intensive use. With this development, and based on Art's comments here, we would definitely take that
public and or private roadway and shift it to the south side of the development. So if you look at it on the aerial image, that now becomes centrally located between the access to the apartment south of it and Hilltop Drive to the north. So again, DOT hasn't agreed to that as of yet, but in our comments, he was leaning towards that being a better solution. So if we were to go that route, we would bring, again, this either public or private roadway in on the south side of the development, work its way through this mixed-use piece, and then loop it either north or south of the wetlands. So there's currently space north of the wetlands, but the roadway does become tighter to those residents that are just north of that. If it went south of the wetlands, we would have to fill some wetlands to achieve that. So there are options, but the wetlands become challenging.
And that actually was, you're touching into the wetlands. I was going to bring that up because they sit smack dab in the middle of it. And,
yeah.
And I'm sure the residents are here because they're probably all along Hilltop and wondering if they're going to get a road. And I was wondering if you can get to the south over them wetlands, if those available. And I know it's conceptual and there's a lot of work to do. I think that would definitely be preferred. And I don't want to speak for the neighborhood that came out, but I imagine they would prefer that also. And if I'm wrong, you guys can get up and tell me that. Yeah, so glad to hear you're considering that.
Yeah, definitely. Again, wetland fill permits can be done. These are, they're not low grade wetlands, they're kind of medium grade wetlands, so a little bit more challenging to obtain fill permits, but it can be done here. So, and again, now that this roadway really wants to be on the south end, the most cost effective solution is to keep it on the south end to get it to the backside here. So it's something we can definitely explore.
And it looks like conceptually they have you with two stormwater basins. And Matt, maybe you can those go anywhere, or are they kind of where they need to be? Are those kind of like, I guess, set in concrete or somewhere close? You got one on the far east end, the southeast end, and then one in the middle.
Based on the contours and the topographic, they're kind of sitting where they're probably the most useful.
Yeah, we do have this, let's just call it unusable space between the wetlands, and we did run the math to make sure we can get the water to it. So that is a good location for that larger stormwater basin. The site does drop off on the east side, so some basin in that back corner would be needed. So a lot of technicalities to work out, but they're generally where they want to be in this print.
Yeah, keep that in mind as you move forward. When we do wetlands or stormwater basins and they actually end up discharging onto towards private property, you have to get consent from those properties to drain across there. So keep that in mind as you move forward.
Yep.
You have to work with neighbors that are east and south of the property, primarily on that one that's the furthest east. The one in the middle, you'll probably drain in towards the wetlands, and it'll be more of a natural drainage pattern that you.
Yeah, that is correct. It would drain back to the wetland. The wet would drain where it drains now, to the south. So,
excuse me, guys. I got a resident. He has a question. Come on up. We'll need your name and address, please.
My name is Burton Gross. I live on 2127 West Hilltop Lane. And my question first, could somebody show us all that's in that area there? What actually is going to be in that corner and that corner?
Well, I can't really see which corners you're pointing to. I can't see that screen, sir.
You have to be
Sir,
on
you got to be on the microphone.
No, I can talk.
No, we need you on the microphone for the record.
I can yell too.
would you like that? Sure. Would you like this one?
Can I help you?
Which corners are you talking? Which corners are you talking about?
So
this corner, both on the west and east side.
You talking about the cul-de-sac or what?
Yeah, right. It's all that around there.
Okay.
Oh, what's around that? Those are townhomes.
Townhomes?
Townhomes, side-by-side homes. With garages, it looks like.
Oh, wow.
Looks like there's a 3-unit, 2, 4, 5-unit, 2, 5-unit, 5-unit. So side-by-side homes.
Well, my lot is all the way at the end
Okay,
of that one. That's all the way across the 3 land, they butt up to my land.
well, the setback, as of right now, I can't really read that. But it looks like is that 50 feet from the lot line? So it's hard to tell, but it's conceptual. They'd have to meet all standard setbacks and what have you.
Is that cul-de-sac supposed to be an in and out deal? I mean,
It's a single access as of right now shown back to 27th Street. So it's not like they're gonna try to access Hilltop right now.
okay. And also, I know all the neighbors here, their backyards are only about 12 feet from the line. The borderline. About 12 feet.
There's
They have all that traffic and all that back there.
Again, as I said, it's conceptual and they may look to come in from the south. They're still trying to configure how to best get in there because there's complications and DOT has concerns as well. And then once they pick a plan of attack, you heard from Assistant Chief Havey, fire has to give it its blessing as well as our engineering department. So there's quite a few things. This is pretty rough.
And the ponds, there's what, 3 of them back there?
I'm seeing 2. I'm seeing one in the southeast corner and one in the middle. I may be missing something. The rest are just wetlands. So those are just kind of, for lack of a better word, a marshy area
They do hold water, so they may appear as ponds.
at times.
It's all wetland,
Yeah.
that whole back area. I mean, I lived out here all my life, so I know.
Mhm.
So they're showing on this plan that the closest corner of the building to the east property line is over 60 feet away, and to the north property line is 50 feet away. We would be expecting there to be landscaping and buffering included in the final overall plan. Hard to tell where that would be at this point because there is going to be a relocation of the roadway to some extent.
Yeah. So as he said, they may look to try to fill some land and go to the south with that road, which would probably be preferred for everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you. Oh, sir. Name and address. That's kind of the deal.
Hello, Alfred Plasek, 2401 West Hilltop Lane. And I would like the planning commission's input. We all endure 800 apartment units within a quarter of a mile to the south of us. Our Hilltop Lane, when they open up 20th Street to connect to Tanglewood, now is a racetrack. We people flying up and down Hilltop. The split road, they're racing on up and down, and the cops have come and they've tried to deal with it. When is there a concentration of apartment units in a specific area enough?
Well, again, so just a little bit of explanation on that, because right now, given what the developers are looking to do is a lot of apartment buildings, and they do it for a number of reasons. For one, there's demand for it. In Oak Creek, our rental rates are well over 95% fill in apartments, and there's a demand for it, so they're filling that demand.
But is there a concentration that's over?
But we do try to keep a percentage of single-family residential, multifamily, and the whole thing. So we're within our boundaries of where we're putting in the amount of apartments that are going in. And then it also has to, really fit our plan, our overall plan for the city. So, we went over a comprehensive plan not too long ago. There's certain areas that are designated, if possibly for residential, whether multifamily or single-family. Townhouses are a commodity that we don't see a lot of, side-by-sides quite like that. So that's kind of nice to see. The apartments, like you say, we've seen quite a bit of that, but we don't start at no, we can end up at no. But again, believe it or not, you don't see it publicly, we have turned down many other different conceptual plans, not here, but in other parts of the city, because they didn't match our comprehensive plan. They didn't blend with the comprehensive plan, the neighborhood, the overall specs. So a lot of things never make it to this point. So when they get to this point, we really start to take a deep dive and look at it and see how it fits. And this is really the first step in it, coming here and seeing how it fits and affects other areas.
Another issue, and you've addressed it, but the positioning of that road on that picture right there, that's right in my backyard. I have a racetrack in the front. Now I'm going to have a racetrack in my backyard. All those people racing back to those townhouses, and I just can't.
Right, and again, that's why we're here, and it's conceptual. So as it was stated before, they'll probably look and work with our city staff to try to take that to the south end.
Now, one of those, the biggest retention pond, if you walk back in that woods, there's a giant pipe that comes from south to Oak Shores. They use it as a retention pond.
And it's probably, and I won't speak for our engineering staff, but it's probably designed that way. They're not just using it. Most of that stuff is by design.
Oh, I believe that they designed it that way, and so now you can't fill it up.
And release. Well, if something like this were to come, what they do then is they have specific formulas to enlarge that. So the release rate is what it needs to be to meet state specs. So I won't get into it because it's not my area of expertise, but normally when we do developments and stormwater management gets involved, it's improved for everybody in the area. That is the goal overall.
All right, and then just because these are all my neighbors on Hilltop, and many of us don't really understand all these zoning codes, this property, what do all those zoning codes mean?
I am going to let Carrie do that because she understands it even way better than me.
I would appreciate it if you just could explain what...
There's multiple zones. So Carrie?
Sure. So along 27th Street, it's zone B4. That's highway business. That's commercial. There's an overlay district that further puts kind of design restrictions on the area that's right along 27th Street. So think of it as an extra layer of requirements. The rest of the property is divided between two single-family residential districts. There's not much difference between the RS3 and the RS2 district, with the exception of just kind of the dimensional requirements, the size of the lot that's required. So how wide it can be, how many square feet it can be. Again, not much difference, but it's still single-family. So with this proposal, they would have to request a rezone of the properties. They would have to combine the properties. We're talking about multiple reviews. And since this is just conceptual at this point, it's hard to determine whether a planned unit development would be required. That would be something like a master development plan for all of the properties combined, if this would be somehow divided. A lot of questions are going to be answered with further refinement of the concept plan. And again, the comments that we are providing to them will inform redesign of the proposal to incorporate all of the concerns and hopefully get at a concept that everybody can live with.
And excuse me if I could ask, the B4 zoning, how far from 27th Street does that go back approximately, do you think? I'm not looking for exact, just an idea.
Maybe 300 feet?
300 to 400 feet. The single family zoning for the rest of it, so that would have to be changed to build these apartments or the townhouses towards the back.
Yes, it would.
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
So there's multiple steps. It's complicated. There's 3 properties involved, and they're complicated properties. So, I applaud you guys for coming forward early on, and I applaud the applicant for taking a look at it and really working with staff to see what is and isn't possible. So like I say, multiple iterations of things will get run through here, and some work and some don't. We've had other parts of the city where people have come through and really wanted to shoehorn in something, and staff was like, it's just not going to work here. And
are we going to get notice of anything that's going to happen in regards to this?
Yes, by our ordinance, everybody affected within 300 feet of the property lines, and that would include all 3 properties, would be given notice. Now, if the alderman can expand that upon request. But obviously, traffic is going to be an issue. Obviously for you on a daily basis, but we have to take into account emergency vehicles and our road standards and everything else, and then the wetlands. So there's just a lot moving here, at least in my opinion.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Yeah, come on up, sir. Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. No, go ahead.
Name and address, ma'am.
Sure. Michelle Jarris, 2501 West Hilltop Lane, okay. My question is for the apartment building, how many stories do they?
I believe it's 4, I think.
4 stories? 3?
It's 3 floors of residential above the first floor of commercial. That may change.
Okay.
So that they're proposing a total of 78 apartment units in that building now. And again, that may also change.
I
So
thought I
it's
counted 4 floor. You did say 3 residential.
3 residential above a commercial floor, and then for a total of 78, and 18 townhomes. Again, this is a concept plan, so those numbers are in flux.
And then my second question is, currently all of us have all those woods behind us. It's attractive to have that privacy, and that's part of the reason we built our house there.
Oh, don't cry, man.
Sorry.
We try to keep those buffers and encourage everybody to do it. The last thing we want to do is take those trees down. We don't want to deplete the green. And naturally, if something did go there, we always try to buffer it. And in some cases, when the trees don't exist, we actually have them put in some sort of buffer, which could be a berm with shrubs. But if there's something natural there, we prefer to keep what's there than start from scratch. So, but again, it's all conceptual. Keep in mind, there's a lot of wetlands here and there's a lot of challenges, and it all sounds really easy to do on paper. And when you start putting it to engineering specs and you start getting cost involved, sometimes things change drastically, or the property may not be that appealing. There's a lot of ways to go on this one. I think Carrie had stated that, or Matt did, one or two.
All right.
So,
well, we just want to make sure that our property values aren't going to go down either.
No,
It's a concern.
Again, we never try to do that either.
Okay.
It's not intentional on anybody's part to put something in that's going to depreciate another property. That's not the goal of anybody.
Right.
To make one money and have another lose. So.
All right. Thank you.
Hi, Robert Weinzettel, 2217 West Hilltop. The townhouses are going to be in the back. There's going to be 2 stories.
It's hard to say, but it would be my guess they would be. I think the applicant's nodding yes.
Okay. Has any of the members, 8 members, walked that property at all? Have they walked?
I have not. The closest I've got.
I'll invite all of you over to my house, because my house is set back further than anyone else's. I have a U-shaped driveway. My house is on the back of the property. If anybody would like to pull up an aerial view of that, you'll see that my property is the only one, and I've been living there since 2007. Probably spent over $2,000 in lawn fertilizer back there, clearing that area, or making it decent grass. I've worked 2 and 3 jobs for this house, and it will ruin that whole area.
Well, again, it's conceptual, and we're not out to destroy anything, and again, they can't legally go on your property. Keep that in mind.
Well, even if there's apartments that are there now, I have people coming in the backyard. I mean, they're kids, and they're just exploring the woods, but they come in the backyard into my place pretty often. And as he was saying, it is a racetrack there, and we probably have, and they're just people exercising. But I'll bet you 50 to 100 people jog up and down Hilltop on the daily because we have those 800 apartments there. And as my neighbor said, you know, if it's coming through the back too, I mean, I feel like I'm in Minocqua, Wisconsin when I'm in my backyard. You know, it's beautiful. And if that circular thing is right there, those 17 places are going to be literally in my backyard.
Again, it's conceptual, and keep in mind, if they cut a subdivision in here of single-family homes, your lot lines would abut backyards. So, you know, if whether they're townhomes or they become single-family homes like you live in, they have that right to abut lot lines like they do in my subdivision. So, hey, you know, I'm just saying it's conceptual. So we really have to keep in mind, you know, what they're trying to do there. So no guarantees it'll all work for them. It's going to be very.
I would ask that you guys at least look at that area of view, and you guys are more than welcome to come over and walk that land. And I don't see how it can be done. I really don't. Not with that road going there. Even if they come in from the south.
Again, engineering will sort through whatever. This is very early and very conceptual.
Okay.
And I'm very glad they came forward this because this is helpful.
Yeah. Now I understand why I couldn't sleep once I got the letter, you know, because I stopped down here and I tried to talk to somebody and nobody knew it. You know, I would go over, I pay my taxes, and they're like, we have nothing being built there. I'm like, I'm getting letters that's saying something's being built. And then they gave me like a Tony's number, and I tried to reach some guy named Tony that's supposed to be in commercial.
Well, it happens because our ASA pool, we have people manning the front. And helping people such as you come in, but they're not in per se inspections or engineering or stormwater management. And Tony's probably out and about because our people rarely sit still in their office here. Quite frankly, we're pretty much undermanned for the amount of development that goes on. Carrie?
Yeah, there's a little bit of confusion. When somebody says something is being built, that usually goes to the inspection department because it usually is tied to a building permit. This is a concept plan that's going before the Plan Commission. So if that's not understood between the two parties on the phone, if there's confusion that way, there might have just been a miscommunication so that they didn't end up speaking to the right person. Anything coming to the Plan Commission, if you have questions about it, please contact me. I'm the city planner. My name is Carrie. So just that's for future reference. Anything before the Plan Commission, any notice that you receive about a public meeting, contact me. I'll be happy to help you with those questions.
We're not as big as Milwaukee, but people still seem to get lost in the system. And there is a process to the madness here. So.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
I have to say my name.
Yeah, one more time, just because they do minutes. So
Burton Gross.
There you go. Thanks.
On 2127 West Hilltop Lane. All those apartment buildings behind my house now, because
Oak Shores you're talking about.
Both of them.
And Tanglewood.
Yeah, right. Now they did something too. They were going to say, "Oh, we're going to make it nice, so it'll be all finished up nice." Well, they put a berm all the way across to 27th Street. I have water problems. I don't know if my neighbors see it, but I already had to replenish almost my backyard because water doesn't run downhill, because I was told that by one of your engineers. Because I asked for them to make because since the berm's been up, there's a lot of water coming in there with all the rains that we do have. This year, no rain, okay? But I mean, it's a flood. I lived out here all my life. I lived all the way from 20th and I'm 69 years old, and I've been putting up with the city. I try to keep my yard decent and all that stuff, and they put that back there, and the poor people have to pay for for whatever the water mess is. I mean, I contact Chris Guzikowski already, and these people are talking about traffic on that road too. I mean, they're going to be putting more people back there. last night, I don't know if there was just a special thing going on Ryan Road. My wife and I were walking down the street. There were over 100 cars coming down the same time, down Little Hilltop Lane. And they don't come into the stop signs and stop either. Most of the people from the apartment buildings don't stop. You can tell all these people, they walk their dogs and that stuff, and we're the ones who have to really watch it out. But we had the stop signs looked at too, and I guess we're not qualified for some little lights around the stop signs, so it's more attractive for the neighbors to stop and that stuff.
Again, we got a staff traffic and safety commission and traffic engineers, and they look at it and traffic counts.
That's what they did. They looked at it.
And again, they made the determination based on DOT and state specs. So, I'm not going to second guess my staff. I mean, I'm not going to throw them under the bus. They're qualified.
Well, I'm just saying when an accident happens, I just hope it ain't nothing serious.
I agree with you. And again, this is very conceptual. So again, I don't believe there's any connection to Hilltop Lane at this point.
But I'm just saying, no more berms either. If you're gonna have a berm on the west side of my lot, but they got the flag right now. The flag is right at the corner, 12 feet away from my house. A surveyor flag. And I say, if you put a berm in there.
Again, our engineers, their job is to make things better for stormwater management. And if it's been flooding before that went in, I don't know what to say. I'm not an engineer, and you'd have to sit down, call them.
I just want to make notice that don't put nothing like a berm.
Again, we don't know what's going in there yet because this is strictly conceptual. So
okay, thank you.
It's just the applicant looking at it. So, were you going to say something?
Yes, thank you. Mark Eberle again. So I just wanted to speak to Hilltop again. Jerry, is it possible to bring up the access management plan from DOT? So, and it's really a tough map to see, but currently, and the arrow actually points to the site, but as per DOT's wishes, and this is not an adopted plan, there would be no access off of 27th Street, and there would be a north-south roadway that connects to Hilltop and also connects to the apartments to the south. So this development, as we envision it, would actually be running through Hilltop or through the apartments to the south to get to their access. That is a horrible, horrible plan. So, we will not be proposing anything that attaches to either of those roadways here. So, and we're looking for staff support to support a single access on our property to serve our property here.
Thank you. Well, obviously, we have a lot of work to do here, a lot of things to look at. Commission, you've had some time to mull this over. Comments, questions? To my right, anybody? Fred, Don?
Not at this point.
Yeah, I think a good hard look at getting that road to the south.
Yeah, sure. We'll redesign and we'll take the inputs and we'll redesign that and make sure that every department requirement is met before we even submit for the next. We just want to show up the concept that we are thinking of to the cities.
And do appreciate that. It's
before
always,
we even,
believe it or not, one moment, please. It's easier to do it now than to backtrack later. So, Commission, Greg?
No questions, just a comment. I mean, I'm glad that you come in early with the concept here. As you can see, any type of development in the city affects some of the residents. So please take that and run with it. I mean, as you progress, if you do pursue this further, make sure you're reaching out to the alderman, make sure you're reaching out to the neighborhood to work with the residents as well.
Sure, we'll definitely do that. I mean, it's a concept of thing. It's not even a proposed plan to the city. Just bringing our ideas to as a builder, as a developer, we are bringing in our ideas. We want to take everybody's inputs and we want to make sure that everyone's privacy is guarded before we commit anything to do.
Dawn?
Yeah, my only comment would be to if you're gonna be able to move that road to the south, to be able to maybe leave as many trees on that north line
Sure.
as possible, so that, I am familiar with the area. I have not walked it, so I don't know where the trees necessarily are, but to keep as much of, between the two, that you have to clear the two spaces.
Yeah, definitely. Means trees will be kept on the north side, and also we'll make sure that it is properly landscaped and put it in a place in such a beautiful, because we want to respect the Hilltop Lane residents also, and so if they sit from their backyard, it should be very good and neat.
Right, and even if I was in the market to buy a townhouse, to have a nice winding road, or
Sure.
a road that goes back to more secluded would be just, better.
Definitely, we'll reconsider that, and we'll work on it, and then we'll put forward one more concept.
Okay, Matt? Christine?
Yes, just one comment for the wetland. I know you said you have to see if you can fill it or if you can do something like that. With the current global warming happening around here, I don't think that's such a good idea. We're destroying more.
We won't be completely doing it, but we will always, we are always planning to put another.
It's never gonna be the same. The original wetland is never gonna be another man-made one. That's a fact.
Yeah, we'll definitely make sure that it's not 100% filled and 100% doing. Just means we are only taking out how much 30% of the land for the whole development, and the 70% is still kept green spaces. So only in this whole 15-acre lot, we're only considering 30% of that. 9.8 acres will be left out as a green space, and only the 4.8 or 4.9 is being considered for the development of the property.
Okay. And conceptual.
Yeah, it's all conceptual. We'll work with all the departments, and we'll start.
Great.
Even though it's conceptual, but it's a good comment for us to let them know from now when they have to be looking at what's not.
Very valuable. I agree.
I appreciate all your comments and suggestions so that we can start working towards that to achieve the goal. Thanks.
Alfred, would you like the last word?
Just the last word.
Come on up.
I just want to clarify.
Hang on, you gotta be on the mic.
Sorry. Alfred Plasek, 2401 West Hilltop Lane, Oak Creek. My clarification is, when we get to the cul-de-sac on the east side of this, are these rental townhomes, or are this going to be some type of condo situation where there's ownership?
We are planning for the ownership of it.
This is
condos.
The applicant stated they'd be home-owned. So yes, probably a condo concept, similar to what they have on Jonathan. Those are side-by-side condos as well, right?
But right now, this is zoned resident, as you mentioned, that, you can, butt up. What about just single-family homes similar to what's there?
Again, if he chose to do that, that's his right. It's what's proposed right now is what we have to look at, and we can't tell him, build this. Per square foot, he may do better on this in a single family home, and
yeah, but we're jamming a whole bunch of people in a really small space.
Again, when he builds, he needs a certain amount of density to make it worth his while as well. So from a business standpoint, he's looking at one thing, little different viewpoint than for your point of view. So, try to be respectful of that as well.
But the zoning would have to be changed in order to do this.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
Thank you.
All right. One more and that's it. And then, because we're getting the same people coming up time after time, and we can be here quite a while.
Oh, we all have problems.
I've been very lenient though.
2127 West Hilltop Lane. On this map, on here.
You have to stand the mic, sir.
Well, on the very east side, like I says, that's borderlines my whole property, and I have woods there. And what do kids like is woods. When you have 80-some families over there, Where are they gonna go? What's gonna make them stop from going in there, which I had privacy all my life?
We'll definitely keep.
So you have to be on mic too.
Hang on. So, okay. We don't know what kids are gonna do, and again, we can't zone and regulate what kids.
We got all the 400 families
are
living
gonna-
behind us.
Sir, right now it's conceptual, and you're conceptualizing problems that yet to exist. This may never even go. So let's take it one step at a time, and please don't lose sleep over this, or don't take this the wrong way. But we have to take it a step at a time and see what materializes from this. As he said, he has nine odd acres here, whatever, and he's trying to keep 5 of it green. He may not be able to cross these wetlands economically enough to make it worth his while to do the east part. So again, he came here conceptually to share it with the neighborhood. I think that's very commendable of him, and I'm glad he did it. So it's a work in progress. This is not etched in stone to say this is the way it's going to be.
Okay, thanks, Don.
So, as we go, you will get notification of this going forward. So, Carrie, back to you to wrap this up.
So the next step in the process obviously will not be right away. The comments and concerns that were raised tonight will be incorporated into a revised plan. This will require WISDOT involvement, as you know, because of the requirements for their WISDOT access management plan along 27th Street. So any modification to that has to get their sign off as well. This will require several steps in the process, and everybody here tonight and their neighbors will receive notice within 300 feet of this proposal. So 300 feet of all of these parcels, you are automatically going to be receiving notice for anything that comes back before the Plan Commission or goes to Common Council. If Alderman Guzekowski requests it, we can expand that area for notification. But at this point, anybody within 300 feet of this proposal will receive notification moving forward. That would include things like rezoning the properties. It would include things as combining or redividing those properties. It goes to whether or not they are going to propose a planned unit development. It would incorporate the final design of the properties, going to architectural design, layout, landscaping, lighting, everything having to do with these properties. There will be reviews. Some of them will require hearings before the Common Council before they can even proceed to the next step. So we do have some work to do. The next concept will be presented whenever we receive it for formal application submission.
Great, thank you, Carrie. I think she laid it out real well. So again, it's really quite an involved process. I want to thank everybody for coming. And again, I know it's upsetting to hear this at first, but again, it's really admirable that they came to the first step and we start to understand what the neighborhood's feeling. And I think that's important, and also what their objective is as well. And I think they're being pretty transparent about what they're proposing. So, you will get notice as it moves forward, as they work with staff and decide to proceed to the next step. So, and if you have questions, again, reach out to myself, Carrie, Alderman Guzekowski, unfortunately couldn't be with us tonight, and get it from there. Don't trust social media or anything like that. Okay? Sorry if it got a little upsetting, but I think the communication was good, and I want to thank you all for coming out. So,
thank you.
Yes, you're welcome. That will get us to announcements and then the adjournment. So Dawn, the farmer's market, that's the big thing this weekend, ain't it?
It is the big thing this weekend. We have a whole bunch of new vendors coming too. And the orchards are in, and all the fall produce is in. So I want to see everybody there.
And again, SCRIP, WIC program.
Yep. Snap and WIC, we match it. So for every $10, we give you $20 in coins at the market.
And there is a match going on by the local IBEW electricians here in Milwaukee. They matched up to $5,000 this year.
Yep.
So they presented a rather large check this last weekend. So thank you to them for that.
Yes, thank you.
And that will get us to a motion for adjournment.
Curlew moves to adjourn at 7:24.
Seifert seconds.
Roll call, and I'll start. Aye.
Hold aye.
Seifert, aye.
And I.
Sullivan, aye.
Curlew, aye.
Oric, aye.
All right, everybody. Thank you very much. Enjoy the week.
Thank you.